Welcome to the Responsible Marketing Podcast, conversations about marketing, sustainability, and how we can all help in becoming more responsible organisations. I'm Jo, a marketing strategist and consultant with a career spanning corporate, small medium business and self-employment, incorporating marketing and commercial skills in various guises, and now flying the flag for a more sustainable and kind future for all. In episode 3 of season 2, I chat with the always joyful Andy Reid from Resilient Business Systems, a tech-based solution provider based in the northeast of England, but servicing organisations across the UK. Andy has been in his industry literally man and boy, and it was fascinating to discover how he made the steps from starting out to where he is now, and what an incredible brain he has for learning tech. Andy and I talk about how Resilient Business Systems looks to alleviate the pain out of continuous tech developments for their customers, how change and embracing tech can deliver an easier life and make everyday activities more accessible, the good, the bad and the ugly of tech and its speed of development, and the fabulous work Andy and the team are doing to extend the life cycle of tech and deliver on the important values within the business. Let's dive straight in. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Andy from Resilient Business Systems this afternoon. Hi Andy.
Hi Jo, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Oh, it's been a busy week so far.
Has it?
It's been a bit manic, and obviously we're running into the Christmas season now.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
So every customer's going, can we just get squeezed in before Christmas, please?
And of course you're saying yes, because that's what you're like.
That's what I'm like, but yeah, which I haven't
You're
at
too
times.
good. You're too good. You must have a time machine, I reckon.
Yes, exactly. I'll need to invent one. I'll put that on my list of to-do things.
Or
invent
ask Father
time
Christmas.
machine. I'll ask Father Christmas.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you never know.
You never know, exactly.
So, you've had your business for quite a long time, like 20
Can
years.
you believe we're 20 years old next year?
Congratulations.
Thank you. I never would have thought that.
It's quite an achievement.
It is. If you'd have asked me if I would have kept going after a couple of years, I would have gone, hopefully I'll be lucky. But 20 years old.
Yeah.
We're doing some big celebrations next year, but quite an achievement.
Yeah,
I believe
it really
it's quite
is.
a good anchor
What
stone.
celebrations have you got planned?
We're going to take everybody out for a fantastic meal, and
Looking forward to it.
we will.
Oh, not me, not everyone.
Oh no, yeah, no.
The whole
We're going to invite some of our customers and some of our friends, and we are actually going to hire somewhere to celebrate. And it won't be about Resilient. It'll be a teeny tiny bit about Resilient, but it's more about thanking all of my customers. Without them, I wouldn't have been going 20 years.
Yeah.
Although those photographs I have held.
Wow. Okay, we'll leave that one there. Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a bit about how you even started your business, what's your background, what you do in Resilient Business Services?
I think it's more of a case of that it very first started when my mum and dad got me a BBC microcomputer. And I was just hooked from day one.
Okay.
So obviously you won't remember, you're far too young, but when the Spectrum came
you're
out,
too kind.
I know, but when the Spectrum and the Commodore, all of those, the Sinclair Spectrums, they appealed to me, but I basically wanted a little bit more. So my mum at the time, and I think the government at the time were trying to do like the BBC, so it was like really the best thing that it could be.
Okay.
And whilst I did enjoy it, my friends got like the Commodore 64, the Sinclair Spectrum, and we were all playing games, it actually became very apparent to me quickly. I'm like, how does this work? And I had that inquisitive mind. I was taking the BBC apart and going, ooh, I can do that with it. So I started programming.
Okay.
I mean, at a very early age.
And that was quite unusual, I guess, for someone your age for a start, but it actually wasn't a common thing, I guess, back then.
Gosh, no. Most of my friends were like, you're doing what?
Yeah.
No, we're
just
playing games.
Play the game.
So I wrote, I remember at the time, Computer and Video Games was a magazine that you got every month, every week even. And you used to be able to type in the game and then you'd run it, but that just got me hooked, Jo.
That's
and
amazing.
I remember writing a Littlewood catalogue system for my mum.
Wow.
Remember the days of the catalogue system?
Yes, I do.
And she had loads of little pieces of paper saying, like Jaws me this and that. And I wrote a full system for her that just allowed her to do that. And
like an accounting system?
Yes, basically I did.
Amazing.
So I wrote that, and that was like, that's when I just got the bug. I knew from there on, I'm like, I want to be into computers.
Yeah, okay. And so how old were you at that point?
Gosh.
I mean, not to expose
no,
too much,
no,
but baby.
I was probably just still at what they called comprehensive school.
Okay, so secondary school.
So secondary school, yes.
Yeah.
I must have been about 16, 15,
Okay.
16, 17-ish when I got there, but just remember that it was like the best thing running home from school. I lived in Stockton at the time. The school was Sheraton, and literally I was running all the way home. One of those kids where my mum would go, "There's tea, bye, thank you," vroom, straight off upstairs.
Amazing.
I was honestly just hooked.
So what happened from there? So obviously you were still at school then. So did you go to college or uni or?
I went to college, but it wasn't the college that you would know today. It was just basically the Stockton sixth form college or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it was more of a fact that they were working to get you into work.
Okay.
So my first job was putting tiles on a roof. And I was like, no.
Not for you.
Not for me. I remember being on the top of a roof in Osmotherley with the gentleman. Bless him, he hired me. But he was like, "I'm just going to go for lunch with the lads. You just finish everything off." About 4 hours later, I was like, this is not for me. So I basically went back to the college and I went, I'm not really this keen on this. Is there anything else more to do with computers? And they actually said that there's a company in Eaglescliffe called Silk Mouldings Limited, and they're looking for somebody with a little bit of an IT background.
Nice
training background, yeah. And they're looking for somebody with a little bit of an IT background. So I applied, and thankfully I've got the job. And touch wood, they took me on.
Amazing.
And that was just it. And they were one of the first people to get like a Windows 3.0.
Okay.
An IBM AS400.
So
I'm talking
quite advanced, were they?
I've
got no idea what that means.
No, it was advanced. It was one of the first Windows GUI type systems. Because prior to that, I was working on green on black.
Okay.
Everything was just, green on black.
Well, like you see in the films, old films. I say old films,
old,
not black and whites, but
yeah, exactly.
Around our time. Yeah.
But I even wrote systems for them. I learnt the system. One of the financial gentlemen, because I got talking to him, like, "Do you write programs?" I went, "Yeah." And he was like, "I've got a D-based 2-deck orange computer. Can you write it?" And I went, "I think so. Give me the manual." And I spent the whole weekend reading and understanding that manual. Came back the first week, I basically wrote the program for him, and he went, "Oh my lord, I'll hire you." And by that time I was just working on the shop floor but doing a little bit of IT. And he moved me into the office environment. I got a full-time job.
That's amazing. Gosh, so you're quite unique then, because again, I can't believe there are many people like you doing that kind of thing at that point.
No, there wasn't many of us. So working in the IT industry, very much self-taught.
Yeah, okay. Learning as you went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are a couple of horror stories that I won't tell you, but I literally
off camera maybe.
Oh my goodness me! I've just wiped their database, and I was like,
oh
gosh.
No.
Yeah. So you get to learn by the, I know it's an old cliched saying, but the life, knowledge of life, or you learn by getting the job. And like, I'll never do that again.
Well, quite. Yeah, exactly. As long as you learn from it, and you learn not to press those buttons together again. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
So you then worked in the public sector for quite a long time.
Well, actually, it was that public sector, Silk Mouldings, but then I joined another company first before my public sector days, and that was a company called Barcode Solutions, and we basically integrated software into warehousing barcoding applications. So again, very, very techy.
Yeah. Specialist, really.
Very specialist. Bless my colleague at the time, the owner of the business. He wanted me, because he got me he seconded me while I was working for Silk, but he called me his jack of all trades, master of none, because I could basically turn my hand to anything.
Right, got you.
Very much like what I just said about then. He was like, "I need to learn about this. I have no idea." And I went, "Where's the manuals?"
Yeah.
And I would pore over the manuals, tweak here, and about a day later I'd say, "Right, I've got it working." How? And then I'd explain to him, and he's like, "Oh," and that helped build the business. And I was with him for a long, long, long time. But I'm jumping slightly, but one of his salesmen left the company, and he asked me, "Would you like to become a salesman?" I'm like, "No."
Okay.
I'm not a salesperson, but he was like, "Please."
Give it a go.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
I ended up being his best salesman.
Wow.
But that's because I wanted people and me. They just seemed to click. We seemed to click.
Yeah.
So I ended up being his best salesman, but unfortunately he was very sales driven. "I'll put targets on you," and I'm like, nope. And by that time, a friend of mine, my Jack, who was my accountant, still is my accountant.
Okay.
He'd gotten a computer, and he'd asked me to set it up because I won't use his language. You know about this stuff. And he went, "Can you set it up for me?" "Absolutely, I can set that up for you. Not a problem at all." Gave him all the instructions on how to do it, how to back up. And I thought, he paid me a little bit of money. I was like, that's great. And then about 6 months later, he went, Andy, it's not working. I think I've ruined something. He ended up destroying the accounting software. And I went, where's the backups that I told you? Well, no. So again,
gosh, the golden rule to back up, yeah?
He hadn't. So I managed to recover the data, thankfully. And I went, right, I've got it recovered, do it. Now, absolutely religiously, I don't have time. If I pay you a monthly retainer, will you do it? And I was like, yeah, of course. You know, because a bit of extra income, bit of pocket money. Yeah. He then passed my name on to somebody else, and the whole thing, and God bless my boss who I was still working with, bless him, he then said, I approached him and went, I think I can make a business of this. And God bless him, he went, I'll give you 6 months. Oh, wow. So working for me, but you work out your exit strategy. If it doesn't work, I'll still hire you. But if it does work, let's work out your strategy. And
amazing.
Touch wood, it worked.
Yeah.
And then
so you rang them almost alongside for 6 months, perhaps, and started Resilience anyway. Ran alongside, and then just took off.
But then going back to your original question, I think week 3 or 4, I got a phone call from a friend who was working at the same company, but he was now working in the private sector. Okay. And he went, I need you to cover paternity leave for, I completely forgot about this gentleman's going on paternity, can you cover for 4 weeks? 9 years later.
What?
I was in that business
for
long
paternity leave.
That's so long. I ended up going for a pint with the
Wow.
But yeah, so worked in the private sector for 9 years. But my boss at the time was like, you're just so eager, Andy. Just everybody likes you. And you know, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I was good for them. Yeah. The customer loved me, as in the customer I was, their customer loved me. I was just like,
it's enthusiasm and passion, isn't it? You know, it's not just about knowledge, it's how you portray that and how you, like you say, communicate. Because I was also going to say, it's quite unusual in my experience so far to find someone who's so clever at their tech and be such a personable person, because quite often those people who love coding and really get in deep with it or don't always have the social skills you would have for sales, for example. I'm not saying they're not sociable.
No,
but,
of course not.
That's quite a talent to have, both sides to that, I think.
It is, and again, I do not want to be, I don't want to put like somebody in a pigeonhole.
No.
When I was very first starting Resilient, and then, people do ask me, so what do you do? Yeah. So I work in IT, and I remember one nice lady, and she just went, you don't have a ponytail. And I was like, wow. Yeah. But she went, my vision is, and again, I'm not trying to pigeonhole, but as you quite rightly said, a coder stuck in his bedroom, with a ponytail and stuff like that. She went, you're very personable, you actually talk like a human. So
and actually you can translate the coding and the tech stuff into normal language.
Sometimes, bless my wife, is very good. Sometimes I get too techie. I get all excited and I'm off there with technical. And she's like, just calm down. But that's basically how it works. And eventually, God bless me, the business Resilient was running side by side. Yeah. And eventually I was like working 24 hours a day because Resilient was getting better and better. Yeah. So not sadly, but sadly in a way, because I loved my job, I had to say, I'm sorry, I'm coming out of the contracting market or the private sector. Then landed a job at Durham University. Okay. So I became their area manager because I remember doing the interview with Peter, and I was for a role as like a coder, and then I presented myself, and they sort of went 15-20 minutes in, I could see them sort of like looking at each other, and I'm like, what have I done? Yeah. Don't know what to do. And they basically explained to me and said, well, actually, we've interviewed you for this role, but we think you'd actually be better in this role. Okay. Can we swap the role? And I ended up getting area manager, and I managed a team of like 12, 13 people. I never envisaged myself as a manager, Joe, absolutely not. But God bless them again, the team there, when I did leave, they're like, best manager.
Well, you've got people skills, though, haven't you? I think that's, if you can talk to people and treat them like human beings and not micromanage and all that, it depends on how you approach it, I think, and that's to do with culture and education in those positions and things as well, like leadership and
I think it's a really interesting point, though. One of the things that myself and my wife about 6 or 7 years ago looked within Resilient, and we were all going through a hard time. It was we were letting some customers down with projects, and whilst it's exceptionally hard, Joe, me and Michelle sort of like had that couch sitting going, what are we doing wrong? Yeah, okay. And what we decided to do, because bless her, I'd had a lot of influence from my first boss, and working in the private sector, you see a great deal of what to do and what not to do.
Absolutely.
And we actually turned around and went, I know it's going to be difficult, but every time that, let's say that a project fails, let's turn inwardly and go, how did we let's say you worked for me, how do we let Joe fail?
Yeah.
Where did we go wrong? And we learned so much. It was very, very hard. But by analysing how we failed, it actually made us better.
Yeah.
And now, as you say, I can sense a project, I'm like, that's going to go wrong. Pick up the phone, be honest with people, but then talk to the rest of the team and going, listen, we failed you, allowing you to get to this situation. Here's what we should do in the future. And it's a constant learning curve.
And then you're investing in your team as well, though, right?
Because your team is like...
they're like gold dust, I guess.
100%.
And I've not met them, but yeah.
No, 100%. We have an excellent working team here. Yeah. And it's very open. If I do something wrong, they'll tell me.
Okay.
And if they do something
Bless
wrong...
them.
But
that's
if
quite
they do
brave,
something
isn't it?
wrong,
But yeah,
it's not a case of you've done it wrong. It's actually say, how did we, as a team, get to this position where we are wrong? How can we learn? What did we learn? But it's very hard.
And I think also, you tell me, this is what I think as a tech kind of naive person, I'm going to say. Not a technophobe, but, quite naive on how tech works and things. But, the advances in tech are just massive all the time. I mean, they're just speeding up literally, it seems like every second of the day. Something gets developed more quickly or something, there's another iteration of something else. So that must be quite hard to keep tabs on anyway. So if you're developing a process or a system for a client and something new comes in, then, do you want to embrace that straight away and try and put it in? Or do you just hang fire and have a little test first? Or
hang fire and have a little test. I mean, the iterations of IT technology, I'm sat eating tea, and I'm stuck to my phone going, that's coming. Oh my God, that's coming, right, okay. I'm part of a lot of Microsoft forums where they are beta, hey, this is coming, the new version of Outlook, the new version of Teams, this is what this. And I'm a great believer in pressing the button here. Okay. So when Windows 11 was first released, I jumped on it. It caused me no end of heartache.
Oh, really?
However, my customers then come along, and when you are Microsoft, they go, you're buying Windows 11 whether you like it or not. Oh, my customers are like, oh, I hate Windows 11. And you're like, no, this is why. Oh, I get it.
Okay.
Costs us a load of heartache because we do it first.
Yeah.
But that also gives my customers a lot of confidence about this new Teams thing, Andy, about this new, and I'm like, oh yeah, watch. So it gives them confidence that I'm confident about it. I'm probably not one of these people, oh God, I'd hate that. Because obviously that just echoes what they're feeling. Yeah. That does nothing for them.
No, you're right.
So I'm a great believer in getting it early, although I do have a lot of pain.
I know, yeah. I mean, I think that's something almost like, I don't know, self-flagellation for the benefit of your customers. Very, very good. I mean, it's not a bad thing to do, to test and trial it before they get their hands on it. Because again, like you say, they don't want to have something which then they're throwing their arms up in the air saying, oh my goodness, take it away.
Nobody likes change. Unfortunately, we live in a world where change is literally dumped on you. You have to embrace it.
Yeah. So I saw a few comments when I was doing a little bit of stalking of you, obviously, because, for my research. Yes. So I saw some comments and testimonials about how you're always looking for new developments and ways to improve systems and processes. So clearly you've always been like that.
Definitely,
right?
Definitely. One of the things that I definitely say to my colleagues in here about stuff like that is always look for a better way of doing something. In the private sector, and I remember the story of Blessing. We changed the names to protect the innocent.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah? But I was constantly developing new ways on how to optimise, shall I say, the process. So let's assume you're a person that can do a job, but I've written something that allows you to do it 5 times quicker. Yeah. And I remember approaching this person and basically saying, listen, I've written this program that will allow you to do your job 5 times more productively. And he tore a strip off me because he basically went, I come in here at 9 o'clock, I do my job, I do as little as I possibly can, and if it takes me an hour to do a job, then it takes me an hour to do it. Don't you dare automate anything in my area. Okay.
Interesting, isn't it?
That is...
Again, that's fear of change, isn't it?
Fear of change. This gentleman was in his elderly state, as I say. He was very fixed in his ways. And that's fine. I've got no issue with that. Nowadays, I do not believe you can be like that. So I am constantly looking at how I can go, God, this job's boring. How can I speed it up? How can I... And again, in my spare time, I do sit there and go, well, what happens if I do this? And, oh, I can do that, okay. And then I feel as though it's my duty for my customers not only to, hello Joe, I've fixed your printer. I can sit with you and go, tell me what you do on a day-to-day job basis. Is there anything that drives you nuts? And you go, yes, filling in this or doing this. I take that away and I go, did you know that I can do this or maybe automate this, or did you realise there's a free program over here? And they just love me for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important. Nobody likes IT. It's part of their day-to-day job.
Yep,
it's something that they have to use day-to-day. But if I can just make their job a little bit easier, turning something that takes them 5 minutes and make it into a second or a click of a button, do you know what? I think that's a really nice thing to do.
Yeah, I think there's definitely two sides to that, isn't there? Because I think some people definitely embrace that and think, oh my goodness, brilliant. My job's going to be, like you say, easier, more efficient. I can get through, especially the boring form filling type spreadsheet, all that kind of stuff. But then you have the other side. So, for example, in supermarkets, so when all the self-checkouts first came in, and I still think there's a bit of a rumble of this still going on as well, that, they're taking people's jobs away.
Yeah.
And why are we still paying the same prices for food when there's no one at the till to talk to?
Yes, of course.
And for me, it's a bit of balance. I think, I love a self-checkout, to be honest. But then for those people who perhaps do want to chat or don't want to use the self-checkout, whatever, there's normally an available till cashier. But yeah, so how would you, I guess, not convince people, but how would you place the argument for kind of like tech developments in that kind of scenario? What do you think the benefits are?
Nowadays, we are living in a world where time is money, literally to the point where, I remember the story that my friend told me that, do you think I should put WhatsApp up on my web? And he did, against my better judgment, and he found more people moving away from him but he didn't answer me. And he was like, if I look at the timestamp, like 11:30, can you provide this? 11:34, yes I can. Not quick enough. Because again, what I feel is when I've seen people do it, they open up 5 tabs. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this?
That's me.
Yeah, the first one to answer.
I did exactly that.
Yeah, but so he went away from that. But what I feel as though is that if you don't embrace these technologies, if you sit there and go, no, you'll get left behind.
Yeah.
So I think it's my duty to try and tell these people that you can make your job easier. We've all heard about, like you say, the self-checkouts. Why can't you have a little bit of automation in your day-to-day?
Absolutely. So I would say then one of your values, you tell me if this is right, but I would say one of your values in the business as well as yourself, professionally curious.
Oh gosh, 100%.
I love that expression as well.
Absolutely love it. I was probably the first person in our family, in our circle of friends, when the Amazon, I'll say her name quietly because she's over there, the Alexa. I was the first to embrace her.
Okay.
Then when Philips as the light people, they brought out integration into your light bulbs.
Okay.
First person to go out there and do that. So I was always a joke with myself. I get in, I tell her to turn the kettle on, and then she automatically knows that where I'm going is in the kitchen. She'll automatically turn the lights on for me.
Oh my goodness.
On a night time, when we're wandering around, I've got light sense motions everywhere. So I'll walk out the front room and I'll walk into the kitchen. The lights will follow me and turn on, and then as I walk back, if there's no activity within a minute, they automatically turn themselves off.
My goodness,
but I embrace that.
Right. Yeah,
oh God! But
I can't imagine that in my house.
No, but I sat for days and weekends going, how do I make this work?
Okay.
How do I make this work? And then I remember my father, because I go in and I go, Alexa, turn on the TV, and then the lights come on, and then this comes on, and that, and he's like, that's pathetic. I would never ever do that. And then when he embraced it, and he sort of like, you're actually quite good. Can you get me one?
Yeah.
And then suddenly he sits there and does it.
Yeah, well, I know. I think, like you say, once you've embraced it and understand it, although I think my mum and dad's has gone in the bin.
Oh,
well, no, probably not the bin. Been recycled. But yeah, I think they just got... I think my mum was trying to ask it different things and it got confused. It didn't do what she wanted, and I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it, where it just becomes a bit of a barrier, and now she doesn't want anything to do with it. So you can't even unpick that one.
No, you can't. But let me tell you a very quick story. My father is deaf. He's got tinnitus as well.
Okay.
So he's got very, very bad hearing. There was an accident in the Navy. One of the cannons went off when he was like really close to it. So he perforated and busted his eardrums. So he has to wear hearing aids all the time. My mum, unfortunately, has passed away now, but he lives very close to us. But he could never hear the doorbell. We've got a Ring doorbell, and it's bloody loud. Still can't hear it.
Goodness, really?
Because he's that
so
deaf.
Bad.
Exactly.
Oh.
I then went out and investigated over the weekend. I bought him a Philips Hue. I bought him a Wi-Fi controlled lamp. I worked out how to connect the Ring to Alexa, to the lights. Anybody presses the doorbell now, Ring says you're there, but the lights in the kitchen and the house flash, and he knows somebody's at the door.
That's amazing.
So I got all of that done for him. And
that's quite incredible. Well done, you.
Well, yeah, but you know what?
I mean, we might get people kind of shouting, saying, "Andy, can you pop over to see my mum and dad to sort out?" In fact, my house actually.
Yeah, exactly. You know what my dad said?
Well, there is a bit of that as well. You know, I think you deserve the medal on that one. Did you say to him, actually professionally curious?
Professionally
what
curious.
You
He absolutely loved it now. So he's absolutely, when the person out, the lights all flashing, he knows somebody's at the door.
That is amazing. So that's a really good example of tech.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So do you have a couple of examples of like bad tech and ugly tech maybe? Do you have anything like that?
Bad tech is, we are moving too fast.
Okay.
We're absolutely moving too fast. People who do their day-to-day job get used to doing something and then it's out of fashion.
Okay.
We are working in an industry where, and you know this, Joe, you work on your Mac or you work on update. And if you don't keep the updates going, then this program doesn't work with this program.
Oh yes.
The really ugly side of it is that we are moving at such a pace now that your iPhone, iOS 18, whatever it is now, you have it 2 or 3 years and then Apple go, not supporting you anymore. And you are forced to upgrade.
Yeah.
That to me is awful because what do we do? This tech is perfectly suitable.
Yeah.
It works. Unfortunately, Apple have gone, no, I won't support you anymore.
And I think you're right. I think we just talked about my new phone, haven't we? Had a few tech issues, funny enough. Well, thank goodness I'm here anyway. But my other phone, my previous phone to this, there was nothing wrong with it apart from the battery didn't last more than probably about 4 hours in the end.
Yes.
It was so frustrating. But everything else I loved about my phone.
Yeah.
And I like my new phone as well, don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong.
It's a lovely
But
phone.
it's taken me some stuff to get used, or some time to get used to. But what was wrong with my old phone? I was quite happy with it.
Nothing.
You know?
And sadly, we used to be able to recycle these, like pass them down generation to generation. The problem is now that the children or whatever, I'll install the lid. No, I'm not compatible anymore.
Yeah.
We are literally throwing this thing away.
Yeah.
And we are, very, very bad. I mean, my industry must be the worst in the world for ecological, whatever it is. It's terrible.
Well, I think there's two industries sat together that aren't too great either. So marketing's not a great industry either because marketing technically drives consumerism. So buy, throw it away if you want, or whatever the culture is. So I think maybe there's a force to be had together between you and me to change the world.
Change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think you're right. There's a lot talked about kind of how these phones, for example, or other tech is made, like where it comes from, who's involved in creating those bits and pieces that go into the whatever it is, and then what happens afterwards. And well, as you know, obviously this is a responsible marketing podcast, but we're talking about responsibility and sustainability. And to be honest, it's not like you say, it's not a great end of life
really
type
isn't.
option at the moment for
Really
any tech
isn't.
like this.
No.
But you're involved in something trying to extend that, aren't you?
Yeah, we run our own system, and it's a WeCo system.
Okay.
So what we do is that you can appreciate that a customer will come along and, like a phone, like a computer, it doesn't work anymore, and can you upgrade it? 9 times out of 10 nowadays, you'll probably have found with your iPhone, you can't upgrade them nowadays. It's like, I'll have to buy a new one.
Yeah.
So customers buy a new machine. There's 2 things that we do. We can reutilise that machine.
Okay.
We work with the Shine Cancer charity, which unfortunately, it's an awful thing to say, but Cancer Shine, they work with children that have got terminal.
Okay.
And they haven't got very long. But what they want to do is they want to embrace technology, so we repurpose the machines wherever we can.
Perfect.
As long as the customer's happy. There's a little machine over there, it's about £500-600 worth of equipment, but that securely wipes the data. So there's absolutely zero chance of that data being going. And as long as the customer's happy, we will repurpose that machine and we donate it free of charge to the charity. If the machine is like beyond it.
Yes.
Like, oh dear, there's going to be a
Literally
small, there's going to be a small funeral hell for this machine.
Okay.
What we do is we strip all the memory out, we strip anything we can out, but then we give it to a local WeCo company. That costs us, Joe.
Okay.
But I genuinely believe it's the right thing to do, because as we've just mentioned, we are not in the best industry at all.
Yeah.
So we make sure that all of the machines that we get rid of are done properly, if you know what I mean. They're not just chucked in this landfill or whatever. They are sent to a business that will strip all the parts out, they melt everything down, and they reuse as much as they can. Okay. So I feel I think it's the right thing. Are they
based? Does it stay within the northeast, or does it go somewhere else?
Honestly, it goes the whole of the UK.
Oh, okay.
So it really is a good system.
It's a really great option.
Yeah. The only downside is, bless my wife, our garage gets really full because they don't just come like for the one computer.
No.
We have to.
Yeah. You need a garage full of computers.
Absolutely. So we have about 3 or 4 pallets full of equipment that we have to fill before we can call them.
Yeah.
It's a couple of £100 for them to come and collect it. But
I guess that's part of your corporate social responsibility, though, side, isn't it? Really, in some ways, it's really promoting that, like you say, the longevity of product and reuse and repair rather than just ditch it in the landfill.
It's something that goes hand in hand, Joe. We are in the industry of tech, and bless you, you've already said that we work well. I work well trying to do that. I think it complements me in a way.
Yeah.
It makes people go, oh yeah, he's all right, Andy, isn't he? And
it's
then
a good egg.
He's a good egg. Thank you.
Go.
But when they then hear about WeCo, it actually backs up that feeling that he's a good egg. So, people might look at me and go, he seemed like a good egg, but then they will read something that I do about WeCo, and that, to me, that backs up my values, because it's not something I would do, like I'll lie about the fact that I'm WeCoing. No, it's my values that I believe that runs throughout the company, and I think that's just another arm of it. Yeah,
absolutely. And a great arm it is, by the way.
Thank you.
So, I have to say that bit as well. But it's phenomenal that you can do that, actually, that you've found a facility that will help you do that as well. And they might charge you for it, but I guess, even if you're a charity these days, you have to earn money, right? So everything costs, so I guess transporting it and again stripping it down and making it to whatever it could be. So do you use that, so WeCo, for example, do you use that in your marketing, or how do you use that in your marketing to the public or to other businesses?
Do you know what? And God bless you. I mean, we appreciate you have been on one of my podcasts.
I have.
Adam, who runs my social media, when I mentioned to him about the WeCo, he was actually saying, wow, we're going to shout about this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And to be fair, and I know we chatted about that, I never realised that what he told me, what I just told you there was what, bless you, and Adam both echoed. It adds another arm to say you back up what you talk about. So actually now we do talk about it a lot, and Adam is posting about it on social media, and I'm just going, good. Fine, I do it because it's the right thing to do. But Adam's like, no, it backs up. It gives, what does he call it? He said it gives gravitas to what you're talking about, kudos. But actually people go, well, he's not just talking about it, I can see he's actually doing it. Yeah. So it's a great thing that I feel as though, and I think from a marketing point of view, it actually has helped.
Yeah, well, good. So it should do.
Exactly.
And one of my real bugbears at the moment is that there's so many businesses, especially SMEs, that are out there doing amazing things and either fearful of talking about it or just don't think to talk about it. So it depends on which camp you're in, really. But, if you're fearful of talking about it, well, that's a different conversation, and that's about data and evidence and proof of what you do, which, again, if I came to you and said, well, I don't believe what you just put on social media, you show me, well, you'll have documentation.
Absolutely.
Or you can call on your partner, WeCo, and they will back it up, And if it's a case of you don't want to shout about it, well, why not? It's all about stories and why the business is doing what it is and the purpose of the business. So, yes, you're in tech, but you're in tech for very different reasons as to, just making a computer and selling it. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely right. And I think it's really interesting. I've certainly learned that talking about that, I shouldn't be embarrassed about it.
Absolutely not.
What you've just said, absolutely, like, I just do it. I don't
be shy.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Talk about it.
But talk about it.
Correct, because obviously what the other thing that Adam said is they said you should be somebody that if they work in tech, like another IT company, we're all out there. They should be going, actually, that's something that we should be doing.
Absolutely.
And then we all win.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I do believe it's a good thing.
I absolutely agree. And, collaboration for me, or group work, if you like, and all bringing together doing something similar, absolutely builds the progress and the impact, the positive impact. So, you can't deny that.
Can't deny. So I'm very happy
lots of different values as well in your business.
Yes.
And how do you use them? Because, I know that you for example, you're very much involved and supportive of the North East Business Network as well.
Yes, we are.
And you recently sponsored one of the awards for Women in Business.
Two.
Two.
Sponsored
Beg your
two
pardon.
awards.
I was there as well. And I didn't have that much wine. But
I was on the stage twice.
You were.
Yes.
So what do you think the North East has got? Why does it make you want to kind of like get involved so much and be really supportive of these kind of awards and events?
It's a really good question, Jo. I've lived in the North East for all my life.
Yeah.
Bless, my wife lived in Manchester.
Okay.
Came to the North East.
She came across the other side.
She
the
was,
right side.
The right side. But it was really nice though, Jo. One of the first things that she said was that the North East seems a lot more welcoming. And, everywhere has its own good places, everywhere has its own bad places. I've travelled a lot. I've certainly felt as though the North East is a lot more welcoming than anywhere else that I've met. But somebody from somebody from the Northwest would say that, and I get it. I totally get it. But I've also lived in Yarm/Darlington for a long time, and I've seen Darlington grow. I've seen the North East stand up, and if anything, if you look at the Southern government, and when they've now moved, half their government is up here in the North East. Why choose Darlington? Why choose the North East? So that says something as well. But talking about business into the Darlington Business Club, which we were a member of, I was on the committee, I felt as though it was so important to give something back to the region. A lot of my customers are in here. I do have customers around the whole of the UK. Actually, one in Germany now. But I feel as though it's important to give back. So back to my story about the WECO, I feel as though I should be giving something back. One of the great things I often say about me, when I joined the Darlington Business Company, I was always trying to give. And I believe giving is the new selling. So if somebody gives a lot to you, that person builds up a trust to you. And I've got numerous examples where I've sort of like met with somebody, and say for example yourself, and hello, it's Joe, and I'm going, Joe, you helped me 3 years ago. And I'm like, did I? And they laugh, they explain to me, and then I'll go, oh, of course I did, how's it going? My business is still going. I would now like some IT support. You helped me on that day for nothing. Please, can we talk? And to me, that just strengthens everything that I feel that's in every person, really. But it just seems to be echoed around the North East in Darlington. I just sense a lot more warmth from it. And certainly something like the Women's Business Darlington Awards. Again, when I was asked, or when both myself and I were like, yes, absolutely. Because they do say that every business is a good one. I mean, I've echoed that from day one. Without my wife. No, but without my wife.
She's not here, by the way.
She's not here.
She will hopefully hear this.
She will hopefully hear this. She absolutely runs my life because I'm so focused, charging ahead, giving this. I'll learn about this, I'll learn about this, I'll learn about that. Without Michelle behind me, I'd just be going, yeah, that's fine.
You're like a little puppy, really, aren't you?
Absolutely, tugging constantly at the lead. Okay. Michelle, bless her, like pulling me back, going, no, we can't do that. And that's really, really, really nice. But when Jason Gurney and Hilary from the Darlington Business Club, they said, we're thinking about doing this, would you like to be a sponsor? Before they finished, I was like, yes. Because it's so important, and bless you were there at the award. What an absolutely fantastic evening.
It was
and I think the Lord Lieutenant, when she got up,
oh my goodness, she was amazing, wasn't
she was fantastic. And she was basically going, it's not just about the women, it's not just about that. And she went on this like 10-15 minute speech, and I had the pleasure of looking around the room, and I think she had everybody on the tip of it. It was like, oh, this is amazing. You could
have had a pin drop, couldn't you?
You could have done, honestly, Joe, and it was fantastic. And then genuinely, I feel very, very proud to be part of something. On that night, I was just a sponsor, but I think looking around, I obviously met you, I met Mags, I met loads of other people. When my name came up, sponsored by Resilience System, I can't help but feel,
yes,
nice.
Proud, exactly.
Yeah,
and again, surely you talked about that in your marketing, right?
100%.
Excellent.
A lot of marketing.
Well done, Adam.
So, Adam pushed it back out. We had a dedicated podcast about it, so I got Jason, my wife, and Hilary back in, and we used that as our marketing. But I genuinely believe, as you said last time, some companies try to go, I don't want to. God bless yourself and people like Adam. I now shout about it because I think it's the right thing to do. And I'm super, super proud of the business, super proud of the North East, and if I can do something like that where I do sponsor something like the Women's Business Awards, I just think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And there's a load of charities around that I do. I mean, there's 4Motion Darlington, which is a great skate park.
That's an amazing skate park.
We do
Although I have got a very bad scar on my elbow still from there. Yeah.
Not good.
I think maybe I chipped a bone or something.
Bless
but
you.
That's what happens when you get roller skates after quite a few years.
Very much so.
Yeah.
They approached me and asked me, can I help? Bless them, their name was passed on by someone.
When they first set up?
When they very first set up, I donated a ton of equipment for them. I did their website and emails for free and all of that. And the amount of marketing I got out purely from that.
Yeah,
I remember Michelle was at a Darlington business club and she introduced herself to somebody and the gentleman just went, I know you. And she went, I've never met you before. Yeah, exactly. One of those. Ooh. And you went, no, I know your company. My son skates at the 4Motion. I see your signs. And again, Michelle came out of that and she went, and she told me that story and I went, that's great.
Yeah.
For nothing more than trying to help, that person went, I know all about you.
Yeah.
Super thing.
Yeah. So do you find that, well, you tell me, when you take members on into the team then, do you find people with the similar values that align with you and Michelle, for example, and what the business stands for? Or do you find your values kind of like, I don't know, gradually get by osmosis eked into them? How does that work?
It's a very interesting concept. So as you probably know, it's a family-run business.
Yeah.
Myself, my wife, my son.
I didn't know your son was in here. Actually.
Yeah, my son started 2 years ago with us, so he started with it. And Eddie, who's a great technician, he actually helped me when I very first set up Resilient, and I suddenly got the contracting market. I was suddenly going, well, I can't do everything, and I needed somebody to work a couple of days a week for me. So I approached him, and Eddie is my long-term friend. He's actually my best man at my wedding. Oh, so it's a real family-run business. We call Eddie part of the family.
Yeah, okay.
And I think what's really good about that is that in any business, Joe, and you know this working from, big retail that you used to do, there's always a bit of politics, there's always a bit of...
Lots of bureaucracy.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
From day one, when I hired Eddie, when I hired Dan, when I asked Michelle, I'm sorry, you need to work for us, I basically stood up and I went, nobody's right in this business. I can be wrong, you can be wrong, we can be right together. Okay. Please don't treat me as a family member. When we're in the work, I am your boss, but at the same time, never feel afraid to shout up and go, what are you doing like that for?
Yeah, we are equal. From a tech point of view, you're absolutely equal, aren't you?
100%.
I mean, you might have more knowledge, but like you just said, Eddie, who I assumed was probably similar age to your son.
Yes, he is, yeah.
I guess is similar age to you, so not quite your son, but so therefore his knowledge game must be incredible as well. So
they've taught me things that I never knew, and I'm like, I never knew that. So what's interesting is that there's always a kind of thing, bless them, they will come, both Eddie and Dan will come to me, I've got this problem. And Michelle always sits there with a clock. And she'll go 10 minutes. And the reason is, I normally cure their issue within 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And the lads start like, I hate you for doing that. And I turned it around though and I went, no, think of it as a compliment to you. Yeah. Because the reason you come to me is you must have followed every possible solution. I'm now looking for the impossible. If you remember the old Sherlock Holmes thing, or is it Spock, however illogical? Yeah. Yeah. In IT, Joe, when I'm diagnosing a problem, I'm going, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, therefore it must be that.
Okay, yeah.
When the lads come with me with a problem, I'm going, well, they must have tried all of that, so therefore I am looking and I'm drawing on the odd years of experience. Yeah. And that's why Michelle normally goes, that was 8 minutes, Andy. And they're just like, he's done it again.
It's amazing though. There's also that theory, isn't there, about just talking through a problem. So even though they maybe sat at their desk or in front of their screens or whatever and worked it through, they get to a certain point and they can't get any further because they need to speak it out, if you like, and actually talk to... So there was a guy I met earlier this year, actually, at a conference, and he gave us all a rubber duck.
All right.
So that's our... I can't think what he called him now, but it's like our voicing partner.
Yes.
So you could talk to your rubber duck and just like sort through your problems, and probably within 10 minutes you're not far off.
Yeah.
Or you've got a solution to work on.
That's just else. Quackers.
God. Okay. Christmas is coming.
Absolutely. Tinsel jokes. Ding, ding. Yeah. But going back to your point, absolutely. They either hate me for it, but they like that. The worst is that I can be stuck having a problem, and I could be working at the weekend, and Michelle, bless, will just go, what's your problem? And I like, right, I'll explain it to you. And I don't mean disrespectfully, because she's not a programmer, stuff like that, but she will just go, is that line supposed to be there? Yes, it's... Right, you can go away now. Because a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
too close to the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just back to the tech and efficiency type thing, because obviously from a responsible business or a sustainability side, tech is always going to make, or I think, tech is always going to make a business more efficient.
Yes.
It's going to kind of reignite processes and systems and connect things together and stuff like that. Would that be right? Is that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So those businesses who perhaps like don't necessarily look at their IT for solutions on that side, on that sustainability kind of like level, if you like, are they missing a trick there?
They're 100% Joe. As I said, there's nothing today where you get up in the morning, you're woken by tech.
Yeah.
You probably watch tech while you're eating your breakfast. You drive with your electric tech car. You work, you sit in front of your keyboard, you sit in front of that. Everything is there. That's why I say to people who don't embrace tech, I'm like, you really are missing a trick. And going back to the point that you kindly raised earlier, these people who do sort of like sit there and like not embrace it, that it's my job to go, no, watch. How can this make your life easy? And there's so many examples that I can give where I have taken on board that user's problem, wandered away, come back with the solution, and their face lighting up going, I just press that button now, and I'm like, and it does all of that work that I was doing before, and I'm like,
that is quite a phenomenal thing, isn't it?
It is a really
on both
nice
sides,
thing.
by the way. I think you must be like super proud, like, yes, that's my
Yeah.
thing. But they would be like, oh my goodness, it's,
Yeah. And if you think about it nowadays, in terms of technology, we are moving super. We just talked about her in the background. Shh, don't mention her name. There are other products.
That's not
available.
Michelle, by the way. That's the other lady in the office.
Yes, exactly. But if you think about how long ago, me and you, when we were growing up, bless us, no such thing. You know, whereas nowadays I can walk in and go, turn on the lights, turn on the kettle, do this, do that. It's coming so fast. And nowadays, my biggest thing at the moment is I'm embracing AI.
Okay. Big time.
Big time. And
I'm getting comfortable. I'm not embracing it, but we're just sitting next to each other and getting used to each other.
I am absolutely embracing it.
But you know, I'm in the position where I can also use like my phone, for example, to turn on my oven and my dishwasher at home.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand how an old-fashioned telephone works. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like
string pieces.
Yeah, I'd rather have like shell phones.
Yeah, shell phones.
Not cell phones. Yeah. Also a dad joke. Sorry.
Very good. I remember that.
Yeah.
I'll write it down.
So it is. It's incredible to know that this tech can do all this stuff, but do we use it without thinking about it, or do we really think about it? So the AI thing then comes in. So you can now. So I mean, I do use AI to write content and things like that. More for a gist of it. I wouldn't ever
100%.
get something. I mean, I'm learning my brief has to be really good with it as well.
Yes.
That's my biggest thing.
Gigo.
Yes.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely. So that's been quite a learning curve.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I do like it. And I do think it's very, I guess from a coding point of view, it must be incredible, isn't it?
From a coding point of view, it's black and white. It's really quite clever. Because obviously it's not just like you're doing something that's marketing, that's media, that's got to have a story. With me, it's like, do this to make it faster.
Yeah.
It's 99.9% correct. What you are missing is that, and bless, I did a very small stint at Queen Elizabeth College, Darlington, and had a very interesting chat with one of the computer people there, because he was getting his students writing code in AI.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But what he was finding is that he would have to sit down with Joe, who'd written the code, going, so what does this bit do? And they would just glaze over.
Yeah.
And went, you've just used AI, haven't you? So the key with AI is I can get it to spit out the code, but I've got to understand what it's doing. So when it's
still the same thing, garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out. So I've still got to go through. I would say to anybody, absolutely embrace AI, but have a bit of human touch about it.
Yes, agreed.
And going, nope, that's just utter rubbish. Or it could be learning of data that's out there. I mean, you know how bad misinterpretation of information is out there. So always treat it with a huge amount of respect and like, no, I won't take you as gospel.
Yeah.
But something like coding, wow, it makes my job so easy. But just like you've said with your script, you will do this, this, and this, and this, and if this happens, do this. And I spend more time feeding the information and briefing it, but what it spits out, I'm like, thank you. I will do it. Thank you.
And it definitely still saves time. I mean, a lot of my work, is thinking about content or different angles and being more creative, and I can get some of that, but some days I'm just a bit
block.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how these people want to hear it, So there's always that kind of, and like you say, I don't ever trust that it's 100% ever.
No.
So there's always some self-checking to do there, but it does bring up some ideas, and also you have to be really specific to say not to be American as well.
Oh gosh, I know. I've just recently subscribed to the Microsoft Copilot.
Oh yes, I had a little trial of that.
Absolutely.
That was
very, very clever. What I found amazing is I was in a meeting for a long time. I came back and I launched Microsoft Outlook, and then Copilot knew that I'd been away because it looked at my calendar, and it went, would you like a summary of the emails you've missed? And I went, yes please.
Oh.
And it knew to ignore the sales ones, it knew to ignore that, and let's say for example it would have went, Joe has emailed you reminding you that you've got the podcast tomorrow. And then I started exploring and I went, summarise all the emails that Joe Long has sent me, and did I take any actions? Or was I given any actions? Spat it out. At the time when I went, this is going to be amazing. So I then had a 2.5 hour meeting with my colleague. I kicked in Copilot in the Teams meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I went, summarise the meeting and provide a list of any actions. And it was 99% accurate. And I was blown away by it.
Yeah, it is really clever.
It's super clever. But imagine that time now where I go, I'll get the notes back to you, Joe. I don't have to anymore.
Well, and scribbling
notes
down.
Don't have to scribble anymore.
Yeah,
you can, and I'm learning in a meeting that goes, okay, sorry, Joe, can I just summarize? You're going to take an action of, and it will know to do that.
Yeah.
So in the meeting, and that's where I think people sometimes like, everybody's listening. It's listening in him.
Well, it is listening.
But everywhere's listening, Joe.
It's true.
My dad's like, bless him, he's not on social media, he's not on Facebook, but bless him, when he's looking on Amazon and then he's looking for something, and then he logs in the next day and he says, this is linked in it. And how does it know? And I'm like, it knows everything.
Yeah.
Unless you are a serial murderer or something like that, everybody's got information anyway. Yeah. What I say is like, embrace it.
It's very true.
And as long as you're not stupid with the amount of data you give it, as in, something like that, it can massively help you. And I think we will get to a point where hopefully I will take over some mundane tasks.
Yeah, but still have the human side to that as an extra layer in my opinion. So even going back to the supermarket thing, so having the self-checkout tills and doing all that kind of stuff, which I know is not AI, but it's tech advance. Just having, so I talked to somebody, in fact, was it not our podcast?
It was our podcast.
We were talking about supermarket, weren't we? About B&Q and about supermarkets having some helpers. So for those people, whether it's elderly generation or those that are a bit more vulnerable or have anxiety about going to supermarkets or B&Q or whatever, then so those people are deployed then to do that real human kindness thing. So much nicer.
I think so. The one problem that I think I have is that I can sometimes get an email and I'm like, that's AI written. And it's very harsh. Yeah. There's no, I wouldn't say love, there's no warmth in the email. It's very matter of the fact. And I'm going, no. So as you just said, sometimes I do use AI to draft an email, and then I'm going, that's not me. That's not me at all. It's not even human.
Yeah.
But it gives me that starter for 10.
Exactly,
and I will go, well, that bit's right, because factually that's correct. Yeah. But I'll top and tail it. I'll like, I'll change that. It is getting cleverer. It now begins to know me, and I will say to it, okay, but I've not written this. Can you look at a previous email I've written and...
Yeah, I was going to say, there was a thing going around, isn't there, where you put in saying Copilot or something like that, what have you learned about me so far?
Yes.
And it will bring you a little, briefing of who you are and what you look, and an image, I believe, as well.
I think so, but no, some of the images...
Some of the images, but anyway.
But you're absolutely right on the point. Utilise in fact what it is. Do not let it run or take over, because that's when mistakes happen. And I know a lot of people laugh at me and they're like, oh Skynet, and I'm like, it'll never get to that point, because there will be somebody somewhere going, nope, stop, we can't let this happen, or don't do this. People that just send in willy-nilly CVs and you're like, nope,
Yeah.
Because you're just like, there's no thought in this.
Although there's also the LinkedIn thing as well. So apparently there's lots of LinkedIn bots, AI-driven bots now.
driven bots that are doing
commenting and
asking
you if you want to work for them and all sorts of stuff.
That's the bit that I find, going back to your dark and digital, I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it. And sadly, AI is also helping the scammers and the phishers.
Yes,
and that's,
true.
again, that's another awful thing to do.
Yeah.
But as somebody explained to me, if you take away all the AI, if you take away all of that, go back into the 1920s and somebody invented the car.
Yes.
A fantastic thing. First person to use it for a bank robber.
Yes.
There's always, it's always going to be somebody that takes that
totally.
side of things and turns it against you.
Yeah.
That shouldn't stop us embracing the technology.
No, absolutely. So do you think, is AI your biggest tip then for SMEs
100%.
at the moment? Yeah, to embrace
100%. AI and automation.
And automation.
So you've probably got a Microsoft 365 subscription.
I do.
You do. You use Outlook, Word, Excel, you Teams still. A little bit.
A bit of Teams.
Little bit of Teams, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You are probably using 2% of what you pay monthly for.
Okay.
So there are extra apps there. So I work with a lot of companies. One particular company, CLR, they work a lot and they have rotors. So if you and me back in the day, we create a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Joe's on today, Andy's on tomorrow, whatever like that. Microsoft have released something called Shifts, which is built into Teams.
Okay.
You tap in Joe, you tap in your working days. At any one point, somebody can launch the Teams Shifts app and go, oh, I'm on tomorrow. And it will automatically do all of that for you.
Very clever.
That's, again, where I sit there and go, oh, what Shifts? Read it, understand it, think about my customers and go, have you tried this? So
you can then pick off your customers where it would apply.
Absolutely. Well, Michael James was a classic example. I knew he was working with Excel spreadsheets to do rotors, and I just sent him a quick message. I went, this is coming. And if any interest, within about 10 minutes, he went, oh my God, Andy. I've clicked the link. I've seen the demo. It does exactly what I want it to do. Okay. It can even handle like overlapping and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I've not got into that because it's not my bag. It's not what I want to do. The fact that I triggered him to look at it, he was like, oh my God, Andy, thank you.
And that's within his subscription already. So it would just
He's
be
already
something
paid
that
for it.
he probably wouldn't have seen because he's too busy.
Never ever would have seen. Copilot is something extra you pay for, but I've demonstrated to probably about 4 clients, and I think for every single one of them, at the end, they've just gone, oh my God.
I also like the fact it's totally encrypted, isn't it? So everything's totally secure on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, which I always worry a little bit about. You know, what's they call them? Open
source, which is another thing, stuff like that. What's really interesting nowadays is that Copilot's opening up, and obviously there's others, Chat GPT.
Yeah.
But I remember one specific problem that I couldn't quite get to the bottom of a coding issue. I read a Microsoft article explaining how the coding would work, but I still couldn't get it to work.
Okay.
But I went into Copilot, and I went, using this website as the reference, this is my code, this is the values that I'm doing, this is why it's failing, point me in the right direction. And it did.
Wow.
But it had read the article and went, oh, I see where you're going. I understand what it's trying to do now. This is why you're not understanding.
Okay.
And it literally explained to me what I was missing in those types of words.
What did I miss on this?
And it told me, I went, oh, thank you, I've learned.
That's amazing.
And that's really clever.
Wow. That is quite incredible. Yeah, it's impressive. I think I need to maybe embrace rather than sit next to AI.
It's coming. Eventually, it's like the whole new thing of Microsoft releasing the new Microsoft Outlook.
Oh, okay.
A lot of things about it I don't like.
Okay.
What have I done? I've clicked the button because my customers will eventually be forced to use it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Same with AI.
Smooth the way for them.
If you can use it, try it. You will actually go, wow, this can help. And start to think about things like people do every day. Excel. Take the following data and do this with it. It'll do it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, surely that's how helpful.
Absolutely.
Oh, God,
it saves time, doesn't it?
Who
like you say, time is money.
Crunch through Excel numbers and no, thank you. Embrace it. If you've got one thing to take away, embrace AI.
Andy, thank you. It's been absolutely brilliant this afternoon.
Thank
you so much for your time. Where can people find you as Resilient Business Systems?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, you might want to give your little podcast a shout out because you and Adam are awesome on podcasts as well.
Very kind. So if you go to www.resilientsystems.co.uk, we are on social media as Resilient Systems. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and if any one of you want to go on a podcast, go on Joe's first.
Oh, thanks.
But Tech Break, look that up as well. It's all about tech. It's all about great things that we can do with tech. And obviously that's where I met yourself.
Yeah.
And you invited on, and now you reciprocate. It's lovely.
Well, it's a nice thing to do, isn't it?
It's a nice thing.
Because we're both good eggs.
Oh, we are. Well, I've been told I am. you are a good egg as well. But thank you so much. I've really enjoyed that.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for your time again.
Not a problem at all. Thank you.
See you later. See you next time. You've been listening to the Responsible Marketing Podcast. You can contact me with any questions or comments by email at joe@jolonconsulting.com or find me on LinkedIn. All recordings of the podcast can be found on the usual podcast channels, as well as on YouTube if you prefer to watch rather than just listen. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe, which helps the podcast to be found by more people. And of course, feel free to share it on your socials, with your friends and your colleagues. That's it for now, so until next time, thanks for listening.